Hi pals and welcome to a new video. I'm Kate and today I'm talking about Agatha Christie novels that are perfect to read over Christmas and winter. I have a good cup of coffee with me. Let's go ahead and get started. I've split these recommendations into two different types. The first three that we'll talk about are very atmospheric, wintry, cozy, festive recommendations, and our second grouping are more plot focused mysteries that are set in and around Christmas time. Let's start with the Sittaford Mystery. This is Agatha Christie's first standalone mystery novel, and it's one of her most kind of atmospheric for winter. It is set on a kind of snow-covered Dartmoor. This opens with a gathering at Sittaford House. You have a group of neighbours who've all gathered together for an evening party. They decide to hold a séance, and during that séance it is announced that the owner of Sittaford House has been murdered. That turns out to be true, and everybody who was gathered at that party in Sittaford House is considered a suspect, as are extended members of the victim's family. Because this is a standalone Christie, there's no Hercule Poirot, there's no Miss Marple, but you do have in here a pair of amateur detectives, one of which is the fiance of one of the suspects, Emily Trefusis, if I remember correctly. She is a fantastic character, full of pluck in the true 1920s sense of the word. She's very daring, she likes a good adventure. She's one of the standout characters in this novel and one of the reasons why I do really enjoy it. And if what you're after is a sense of atmosphere, the kind of isolated English country house, the snowed-in setting, this is probably the Christie novel for you. She's not the best, I would say, at kind of evoking that sense of atmosphere. She's all about the plot, but this one I think is a really good example of how well she can do it. The plot and the resolution in this are good, not her best, but a really solid mystery with a good cast of characters and a fantastic sense of season and place. Dartmoor is just a fantastic setting for a mystery novel because of the moors and because of how kind of bleak they can be, especially in winter. I recently read this on Bonfire Night in the UK, which is the 5th of November. It was a book that really started the mark of winter seasonal reading for me, and I had such an enjoyable time with it. So I do really recommend this one, The Sittaford Mystery. Next up is a Hercule Poirot recommendation, and it is The Adventure of the Christmas Pudding. I have it in this lovely Christmas gift edition that I bought a good few years ago now, but these are really beautiful. This is actually a collection of short stories, and my recommendation is for the short story, The Adventure of the Christmas Pudding. The other short stories in this collection are not based around Christmas, but you can read this or listen to it on audiobook in about an hour and a half, and it's such a good little story. In this, Hercule Poirot is approached by what I think you can assume is a kind of high-ranking government official, and he is told that a very important and expensive ruby has gone missing and that they would like Hercule Poirot to investigate, which leads him to spending Christmas in an English country house. And he visits this house under the pretense of wanting to experience a traditional English Christmas. If you're not from the UK, Christmas pudding, as in the title in this book, is a traditional plum pudding that you have on Christmas Day, and you flame a Christmas pudding by pouring brandy over it and lighting it. And it's traditional to hide trinkets in the Christmas pudding, which is very important to this story. I really adore this short story. I've read the whole collection, but I've read this specific story a fair few times now, partly because it's kind of short and sweet, but also because Christmas is really central to the story in the way that it's not with a lot of other Agatha Christie's. the family that he's visited are very into making things festive and merry and jolly, and it is meant to be a throwback to that kind of traditional Christmas that they don't really have anymore, even though this was written in the 1920s. One of the things I love as well is the ongoing joke of how much Poirot despises going to the countryside in winter. He is only convinced to investigate the kind of missing ruby because the house in question has recently installed central heating. So I love kind of that jokes about how he doesn't like drafts and he doesn't like log burners. He wants kind of powered central heating and radiators. This really is an awful lot of fun. It's a great little puzzle. I like the resolution to this one, and also it was adapted in the David Suchet Poirot series in an episode that I think was called The Theft of the Red Ruby. I also really recommend that, so I think you'll have a great time with this one. Also, the other short stories in this collection, you can come to them over the course of the year, which is what I did the first time I read it. So that is The Adventure of the Christmas Pudding. I couldn't make this without mentioning Murder on the Orient Express. Not specifically a Christmas related mystery, but this one is so iconic. I always, over Christmas, either reread this, listen to it on audiobook, or watch one of the many brilliant adaptations of this. I won't go into a ton of detail because I think most people, even if you don't know who did it, know kind of like the basic details of the plot for this one. In this, Hercule Poirot is travelling on the Orient Express. As they are travelling through what was then Yugoslavia, I think, the train is halted by a snowdrift, and an American passenger, a Samuel Ratchet, is found murdered. He has been stabbed 12 times, and Hercule Poirot, of course, sets out to solve the mystery of who on the train is the killer. The solution to this is brilliant. The setting is iconic. The adaptations of this, including the David Suchet TV series and the more recent Kenneth Branagh, I absolutely adore. Everything about this makes it the perfect read for Christmas. I know for some people The Murder of Roger Ackroyd is the more technically impressive Christie novel, and I do love that novel. I reread it this year actually, but I have to say that as an adult, the first book that got me back into reading Christie was Sparkling Cyanide, but it was reading this that really grabbed me because this is just so ingenious. One of the best mystery novels that there is and will be a forever favourite. Cannot recommend this enough. I know a lot of you will have read this one already. If you haven't, the perfect thing to read over Christmas. Before I move on to the last two recommendations, which are set over Christmas but are definitely more plot focused, if atmosphere is what you're after, I did a whole video a couple of weeks ago on Golden Age classic crime for winter and Christmas, and the focus for that video was really on the atmosphere around Christmas and winter. Think dead Santa Clauses, think isolated country houses, all set in December, and perfect to read over Christmas. I will link that down below for you. If plot is what you're after, I do have two recommendations for you, and the first is Hercule Poirot's Christmas. I don't know if that will pick up on the camera, but this is one of those Christmas gift editions that I got a few years ago. I don't think these are still in print, but they are really beautiful editions. Hercule Poirot's Christmas is actually a favourite of mine. I've read this maybe 2 or 3 times now, and this is one of those rare, honest to God, Agatha Christie locked room mysteries, and you don't get them as often as you think you would. This again is a Hercule Poirot novel, and this is set over what can only be described as a kind of deeply uncomfortable and awkward family Christmas. In this, you have a estranged family who are gathering together for the first time in decades because there's this golden age crime. Naturally, they all despise each other. The head of that family is a kind of infirm elderly patriarch who is a very unpleasant man who kind of revels in manipulating and humiliating his family, who are all financially dependent on him and are kind of waiting for a large inheritance after he dies. As this is a Christmas mystery, of course he is murdered, and conveniently Hercule Poirot is staying nearby with a detective inspector, and he is tasked by the family with investigating the crime. I reread this for this video, I just kind of wanted a quick refresher. What I will say about this one is that the plot definitely comes first in this. It's not like The Adventure of the Christmas Pudding, where Christmas is really central to the mystery. Them being gathered together at Christmas is secondary to the locked room mystery, and because they're a family who all have grudges against each other, they thoroughly dislike each other. It's not a very jolly novel. It's actually quite a gruesome murder in this one. And one of the reasons why I think this is actually brilliant is that the resolution of who the murderer is really took me by surprise the first time that I read it, and I think it is really quite brilliant. My only thing with this one is that because it's a locked room mystery, in terms of how the murderer committed the crime, locked room mysteries are always quite convoluted. The resolution is quite convoluted in terms of how it's been achieved. That is the only downside to this, is that it does kind of strain credulity a little bit, but I actually think the reveal of the murderer is a stroke of genius. So if you want kind of more plot focused Christmas mysteries, I think you would really enjoy this one. My last recommendation is a Miss Marple novel, The 450 from Paddington, and I have to say 2025 has been the year where I've really embraced my love of Miss Marple. Some of my favourite crime reads of the year have been Miss Marple as opposed to like standalones or Poirot's. I read this one recently as I'm going through the Miss Marples in series order. I have to say, one of my favourite things in crime novels are trains. It's because I love travelling by train. I do it a lot, so I find the kind of the setting and the intricacies of making it work absolutely fascinating. This opens a few days before Christmas, and in this, a Mrs. Gilcuddy is travelling on the 450 train from Paddington. Paddington is a train station in London. She is settled in her carriage. The train that she's on slows down as it's approaching a town and starts to run parallel to another train. She is kind of looking in this train and kind of daydreaming when she sees a blind pop up, and she sees a man strangling a woman to death on that train. She reports this to kind of train officials, but Mrs. Gilcuddy is actually on the way to visit her friend, Miss Jane Marple. Miss Marple starts to investigate this murder, and the trail leads her to kind of like a stately home called Rutherford Hall, which is kind of like a overbearing, quite bleak, quite unwelcoming Victorian mansion. A family are living there. And in true Christie Golden Age style, there are a lot of tensions in this family. There are a lot of money worries and grudges. One of the things that I love about this, much like the Sittaford Mystery, is that it has a fantastic heroine in this. Miss Marple asks a young woman to help her investigate and find the body of the murder victim, and she installs this young woman at Rutherford Hall as hired help. And this young woman, Lucy, has a ton of pluck and bravery. She's really intelligent. Her and Miss Marple working together as such a fantastic duo in this. You also get D.I. Craddock reappear in this. He has been in other Miss Marple novels. I really like him as a character. And this is such a lot of fun, actually. I think that this is brilliantly written. The setting of Rutherford Hall, like I said, is fantastic. There's a great cast of characters in this. Lucy is brilliant. There's also a pair of young boys who are kind of detecting themselves because they've read a lot of crime novels. Miss Marple kind of dips in and out of this. She's at the beginning, then you have to wait for her to come back in at the end. I think that it's brilliant. The only downside to this one is that I will say in the last 5 pages with the resolution, I don't think it's as strong as Hercule Poirot's Christmas, which isn't too dissimilar in terms of plot. If I had to pick one, I'd say go for this one. But otherwise, I think that this is a very strong Miss Marple novel. And if you like trains, this could be the one for you, actually. Right, that's it for today's video. If you have any recommendations of Agatha Christie, kind of winter or Christmas mysteries, I would love to hear from you in the comments. I'm sure quite a lot of you will have read these already. If you have, I'd love to hear your thoughts as well. One of the things that I will be doing is reading the Seven Dials mystery ahead of the Netflix adaptation coming out on the 15th of January. So I'm quite excited for that. That is it for today's video, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye!